everybody. Thank you so much for joining us and pivoting and adjusting to this new norm for us and having these Zoom luncheons or Zoom meetings. So excited to have you all here. I think it's a great topic today, positivity in the workplace. Positive attitudes always lead to positive outcomes. And I have to remind myself that right now because I'm ready to get back to around people and getting back to how it was a little bit before. So I've had to kind of remind myself to stay positive. So I'm super excited for Donna to be here. And without further ado, I will introduce our speaker. Miss Donna Orender is a highly respected corporate business leader, having led growth and innovation in several high-profile companies. She has been recognized as one of the top 10 most powerful women in sports and one of Newsweek's 100 most influential people in the business of sports, and is a best-selling author with her 2018 release of Wowsdom, the Girl's Guide to the Positive. There it is. Wowsdom. I love it. The Girl's Guide to the Positive and the Possible. Donna was recruited by the WNBA in the most vulnerable time. She served 6 years as the president commissioner of the league, during which time she solidified its faith, led double-digit growth in all key business metrics. With her focus on revitalizing the brand, its value and relevance, the league experienced 5 years of consecutive attendance growth after 8 years of decline. Prior to the WNBA, Donna spent 17 years at the PGA Tour, where she was one of 3 senior executives serving in the office of commissioner. She led the negotiation team that changed the paradigm for how PGA Tour golf was both packaged and sold, resulting in billions of dollars of growth for the tour. As the Senior Vice President of Strategic Development, she was responsible for developing strategic direction across all business lines, including direct oversight of brand management, advertising, and digital strategic work closely with the commissioner. Donna's business career began after playing 3 years in the Women's Professional Basketball League. That's awesome, where she earned all-star status. This experience enabled her to work in network television sports at ABC and later in cable television at Sports Channel before forming her own production company. When do you sleep, Donna? And
where did this bio come from?
Director and writer, she was responsible for their creative development and sales of programming globally. In addition, she serves on nominating and compensating committees for the V Foundation for Cancer Research Board, was elected to the executive committee of Maccabi USA, and contributes to the boards of the Monique Burr Foundation for Children, the Jacksonville Public Education Fund, the DeVos Sport Management Graduate Program at UCF, UNF Book School of Health, co-chairs to the UJA Sports for Youth Initiative, and founding member of the board of WOMEN Women, a mentoring organization for young women capable of reaching the C-suite. Love it. She has also been a global ambassador for Vital Voices, traveling to Indy to help mentor young women entrepreneurs, and much, much more. Please help me welcome Miss Donna Orender. Thank you, Donna.
Yeah, Melissa, thank you so much. I think that was 10. I mean, I'm going to have to talk to my team. That was very long, but very sweet and very kind. And hi, everybody. How are you? It's like, it's funny. You have to just wave, because you can't, like, I don't know. Maybe my next job is to figure out the best software. Zoom's getting us halfway there, but not all the way home. But it is getting us together, and I'm very appreciative of that. So, Rachel, thank you for all the pre-work. Melissa, for the nice introduction. And let me state the obvious. What a time we are living in, right? A pandemic. It sounds biblical, in the time of COVID. I feel like I say it all the time, in the time of COVID. And what's so amazing, it is a globally shared experience. Not exactly the same from here to there, from place to place, but it's something that we will forever be connected by. We also now have a moment to a movement, a focus on social and racial justice, as the pandemic with its unseen pathogen is allowing us to see so many things more clearly. It's fascinating, isn't it? Net, it's a lot for all of us to deal with. And I would share with you, is right before I got onto this call, my phone rings. It's my sister in tears. In tears. I just don't know how to handle all of this. And I said, you know what? Why don't you just come on and join us, because I have all the answers. No, I don't. I just wanted to make her laugh. And laughing and feeling positive is an antidote for a situation when we increasingly feel like we're losing control. But the truth of the matter is we have control over many more things than we give ourselves credit for. You know, remember there was a quiet beginning to all of this? Can you remember? It was somewhat contemplative, and in some ways, as we have sped up, there's still time for some very important questions. It's a time for an awakening to ourselves and actually for ourselves. And so I love to ask questions, and I'll explain how they guide our lives. It's kind of my positive way, it's my positive approach to life, which I am happy to share with you today. So let me start out with a question. What motivates you? You think about it? What excites you? Do you think about it? What gets you up every morning with zest and fire? There's something really valuable and important in how we think about our lives, our intentions, and the questions we ask ourselves. I have found that this realization has come over time, but as I look at where I've been and where I'm still going, I realize there's a two-word question that helps frame my outlook all the time. Perhaps it will help you too. 2 words, very simple. Why not? Why not? And very powerful. In 10th grade, way back when, you know, I guess there's a new thing now, BTOC, before the time of COVID, I did not ask why there was not a girls' tennis team at my school. At the time, I had played 7 sports. Yes, people think that sounds insane. And in this day and age of youth sports, it is rather remarkable. I like to think of those as truly the good old days when our kids had tremendous options. There weren't coaches pressuring them to specialize. And even beyond that, kids didn't quit sports at 13 because they were burned out. Another talk. But my question at the time was, not why was there not a girls' tennis team at my school, but why not? Why not play on the boys' tennis team? Because there wasn't a girls' tennis team. And I was like, oh, that's kind of crazy. So I went to the coach. That was rather daunting. I was 14. He was like, I don't know, at that point when you're 14, to me, he seemed like he was 79. He probably was 42. He had gray hair. But essentially what he said to me in those days, which I am ever appreciative to this day, said, if you want to play, you got to earn your way. And I'm like, okay, give me the opportunity. And so he did. On Tuesday at 4:00, said, play Marty Porish. I love Marty Porish. But if you win, then you get to be on the team. I didn't love Marty Porish that much. Showed up in an hour, beat Marty Porish, and earned my spot on the boys' tennis team. And you know what? That why not was a shortcut to new reality. We didn't have to go through a school board, right? We didn't have to go through the principal and all this tape cutting thing. Thank goodness. Is that a sign of those times? I'm not so sure. But it was a shortcut to a new reality, right? A first girl playing on a boys team. And luckily I had that coach who said, hey, you know what? I'll give you the opportunity. And when I think about a comparable of today, perhaps some of you are aware of Coach Popovich, the head coach of the San Antonio Spurs, who also said, hey, why not take the best qualified coach around? I'm going to take Becky Hammon. And he too created a shortcut to a new reality. Why can't women coach men's NBA teams? When I was at the WNBA, interestingly enough, as an aside, people would always say, you know, when will a woman play in the NBA? Interestingly enough, when I played professional basketball, my teammate was a woman by the name of Annie Myers Drysdale. And she did play for the Indiana Pacers. I wasn't as focused about women playing on the men's team as much as I was, why couldn't women coach men's teams? And you know, here we are. In college, I passed on an academic scholarship to a great university, the University of Chicago. Anybody there from Chicago? Let's see. Hands raised. Anybody from Chicago? Anything? Ah, of course, Christina is. Okay. Chicago people. I like that. And the question was, why not play basketball? One of my true passions, one of the top teams in the nation, Queens College, part of the City University, and ultimately write history. We were the first women's basketball team to ever play basketball at Madison Square Garden. I loved that whole experience. And then when it was time to go to grad school, because I wanted to earn my master's in social work, I'm not sure how many of you work in the social service fields. As time conspired, there was yet another pivotal fork in the road. Do I stay in school? I had finished my first year. I would go to school. I would do my social work internship. I had a ninth grade pregnant teenage girls on Long Island. I would then do my homework in my car and then go to practice for my professional sports life. And then ultimately I said, why not drop out and play in the first women's professional league in the history of our country? Now, the truth is, I didn't earn my MSW. I still have not earned my MSW, but what I did earn was a PhD in life. And I set a course where the world of sports is, as we can readily see, especially today, a tremendous platform for social work and social justice work. So let me reiterate, to be able to ask yourself, why not, provides for tremendous creativity. It gives yourself permission. I recall when I was at the PGA Tour, I was there for 17 years. So I was working in St. Johns County. I think we were a member of the chamber. I hope they still are. And when the WNBA called Adam Silver, there was so many questions. I had a tremendously wonderful, balanced, I worked a lot, but I like working a lot, life. But if I could ask all the why questions, which was good discipline, I kept going around in a circle. And finally, when I said, why not? Why not take the time at this stage in your life and give back everything I felt like I had accomplished? People who were great to me. Was because I felt like I was an athlete. And I felt like, okay, it was time for me to pay it forward. And when my commissioner said to me, you will not go and do this, at that moment, I knew I would. Again, a precursor to history, leading and helping to ensure the survival of a women-focused business, a ticket to which was to see strong women compete, their passionate pursuit dedicated to excellence. It was an amazing mission for me. Lessons learned, lives impacted, social change served, and it continues today. I don't know how many of you are watching. You know, most of our sports went away, but like most of them are back now. And if you're a sports fan like me, it's great to see them back. It adds another piece of new normal to the new normal. So I thought what we can do is spend a little time talking about the why not mindset. As you can tell by at least the examples I portrayed from my life, it is about possibility. It is about positivity. You know, we have a growth mindset, not that much of a fan of a fixed mindset, right? But how about the why not mindset? So in the limited time we have today, I just like to focus on one key area. I usually do 5 or 6 of these, but for today, let's focus on this very important one, which is have the courage to ask. So I want to start with a courageous question. Maybe not that courageous, but what is your own why not question? Think about it. If you have a piece of paper or a pen or your phone or something like that, write it down. Take a second. Maybe when we get to the chat at the end, some of you will share that with us. But just take a second to think about that. What is your own why not question? You see, when you ask why not, you're more than just asking the reason for being or doing something a certain way. You're also stimulating conversation around other ways to approach a problem or an opportunity. And as we are all gathered today, I recall as I started out, do you think about what motivates you? What excites you? What why not question can you ask yourself that will unlock these possibilities? And as long as we're talking about the courage to ask, let us really remember we need the courage to answer. Honestly, honest answers to that own person that we look in the mirror. And you know what I'm talking about. We lie to ourselves all the time. It's not meant to be evil. or divisive in ourselves. It's just kind of avoidance. I'll get to that. I'll deal with that. But we should, because when we think of ourselves in our business world, asking why not, it's liberating for some. It's threatening for others. But what the heck? We already know how things are getting done now. So the question you have to ask is, do you want incremental improvement or the chance to move exponentially? I'll give you a little story. I am fortunate to sit on the board of the World Surf League. I love this company. It's actually a restartup. It's been around for 30 years. It was purchased by an investor. And you know what? Lots of why not questions. Why not questions are scary, especially when they denote change. I don't know if any of you are surf fans. I hope that you are, or any of you do surf. But there was a groundbreaking technology that was introduced by one of the best surfers in the world, a Florida boy, Kelly Slater. It's at the Surf Ranch, and it's a man-made artificial wave. It is fantastic. It's in the middle of California. And so we're getting ready to launch our first global surf competition on this wave at the Surf Ranch. And we're sitting at a table and we're talking about television. And the owner, the lead investor for the World Surf League, is talking about things. Well, can we do this? And we can do that, but we can't do this, but we can't do that. And finally, it just came out of me. I looked at him and I said, why not? Why not pitch this to CBS, even though it's in 4 weeks, and let's see if they can do it. And sure enough, he looked at me, goes, yeah, why not? And we did. And guess what? It aired on CBS. Just that little moment. It wasn't threatening, but it was a pivot on how we have to look at things. And let me just say this, in the time of COVID is in the time of pivot. We all have to think about pivoting as something that we embrace, as a challenge that will move us forward. We say, why not? Right? There are hard questions in the time of COVID, and there are even harder answers. But when you put it through the why not filter, this is a time like no other. And it's a time to see the world through a lens of possibility. I'm not suggesting in any way that we risk our safety or our wellness or that of others. But to think of things we would not have considered before. Interestingly enough, I was talking to a friend of mine just the other day. She happens to be the national head of operations for one of the most successful fast food chains in the nation. So we talk about how are they going? And she said, actually, they're going okay. We're performing a lot better than we thought we would. I'm like, well, that's good. And she said, what's so interesting is as we sit down to problem solve, we have permission to do things we never thought possible. Now think about that. Obviously, we have to pivot. We have to think about new ways. But if we do not ask the why not question, why not set up our dining rooms in this way? Well, previously, setting up your dining room, that was a non-starter. But we are in a let's go starter period of time, which I actually think is great for our brains, for our energy, right? And for the opportunities, not discounting the difficulties at all, but wanting to frame the world in a way of what is possible. And especially as we speak of courage to ask, I have 3 critical why not questions for you. Now, I have to say that when I started this, when I was invited, I thought we were having an all-female gathering today. And I want to thank especially the men who have joined us. But you'll appreciate these questions as well. And I saw Philip Lee. I hope, is that the Philip Lee I know and love? If it is, a big hug to you. 3 critical why not questions. First one is, why not me? Now, as women, I'm going to speak to the women first. We are more often than not do not consider ourselves first. You can nod your head if you're feeling this, right? We defer, we undersell, we need to be perfect and disqualify ourselves. We do all of that. Matter of fact, just yesterday, I had a coffee with a woman who is a managing director of a major financial firm in our region. And she brought all of this up right away, right? I'm looking to hire. And if I make a list of qualifications for people to hire, the guys look at it, see 2 and said, I'm qualified. Women look at it and don't see that they can fulfill 8, they're not qualified. We don't say, why not me? Interesting, about 6 or 8 months ago, I was interviewing a woman for a position with our not-for-profit. She was PhD, had started actually a little, a group at a college on social justice. I think the world of her. And when I laid out the job, she goes, "Well, do you really think I can do this?" And I looked at her and I'm like, "Are you saying, why me?" You should be saying, "Why not me?" And all of us should be saying, "Why not me?" with that realistic lens of where we are and where we sit and what we're capable of. The second question, and this is especially, actually, this is for all of us, because if this is my Phil Lee, and if it's not my Phil Lee, then it's another Phil Lee who's just became my Phil Lee. I'd love if you'd be asking this question, which is, why not she? To be with all of you strong, brave women and you remarkable men there who are out there making a difference, we should be asking ourselves this every single day. I play team sports. I am a team sport athlete. And you know what? Life is a team sport. We do not get anywhere. We do not do anything on our own. There is always somebody there to the side of us, behind us, perhaps leading us, helping us get to the place we think we want to be. We must be better. Asking why not she is about supporting each other. And I'm sure that this is one of the many organizations that you belong to where you can proactively support all the she's that are in our lives. Team She is a powerful team. And I'm here to tell you that we have so much more impact to make if we teamed up in a much more proactive way. When I got on the call this morning, I heard some of the women who I'm just meeting right now, asking each other, "Oh, how's your business? What's going on?" So what are the more proactive ways? Support women-owned businesses. Help fund women-owned businesses. Recommend each other for leadership positions, board seats, city positions, Little League baseball coaches. There's so much to accomplish, and as women, we absolutely must support each other. And I'm going to tell you, the guys do an amazingly good job at that. Look to them. You will see. They do an amazingly strong job. But then again, so can we. Why not? And ultimately, my last question for us is, why not us? Because leadership is about us. Stand in front of the mirror in this time of COVID, ask questions. As questions swirl and our lives are upended, we are tasked with asking, why not? Why not every day to steer our way through? We can do this. We definitely can do this. We need each other also to help us do this. I always love to talk about the power of connection because I do believe that is the true superpower. Because our ability to connect, our ability to team up gives us tremendous reach, gives us tremendous strength. And again, I cannot help but reflect that in the time of COVID, how powerful we are truly seeing connection is, and how interconnected, how intertwined our lives really are. For me, after leaving the WNBA, I returned to Northeast Florida, and the basis of founding Generation W, you're not going to believe this, but yes, it was a why not question. Why not create a platform that elevates women's voices and that of teen girls? That's called Generation Wow. We are so proud that Generation Wow clubs, which run year-round, about 40 of them and growing around the country, was founded by high school girls in Ponte Vedra. Yes, Generation Wow owes so much to St. Johns County. In addition, we launched Team Wowsdom. Wowsdom's the name of our book you saw in the beginning, which was for young teenage high school girl athletes. Also, we launched in St. Johns County with a number of high schools. You see, I love the girls in Ponte Vedra, the high school girls, because you see what they said to us was, why not us? And they have driven an incredible program and impacted hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of girls. Generation W has now grown to be national in scope and stature, but with homegrown Northeast Florida roots, and it offers year-round programming, including a program called Refresh. And I'd love to invite all of you, and I'm hoping that Rebecca and Melissa will help us send out a flyer every Wednesday at noon, because who does not need a lift to your spirits? I mean, really, the world we're living in? Have meaningful connections, be inspired for an hour a week. Please actually join us. We've had amazing guests on amazing issues. And what is so warm and wonderful is the community, and it's a national community. West Coast, Midwest, Florida, New York, people who join us from all over. who just want to be together. They want to learn together. They want to inspire together. Now, I'll tell you that Generation W began with a thought leadership event 9 years ago, and it's an annual event that does change lives. And I'm going to say this, it can change your life. There's amazing speakers and stories and topics, but it's also about the way people, mostly women and the men who love us. Florida Blue is an amazing partner who has grown up with us, who has led us. It's how people show up. It's how we show up, open, filled with acceptance and trust. It's a safe place, a place to connect authentically with yourself, with professional peers, and anyone and everyone else who is there. And so this year, we are actively embracing the technology of the day and bringing Generation W to you virtually. It's funny, virtual is a funny word. In some ways, it means it's there, but it's not there. But I will tell you that the benefits you get from being there are not virtual. They're real. And everyone can attend. This year on September 11th, once again, our speakers will be present to challenge our thinking, open our minds, our spirits, and connect our hearts. And now, I don't think I have to tell you, as kindred spirits, more than ever, this work is so important. The theme is Vision 2020, and it's amazing that it was precisely what we could not see that has turned our world upside down, right? We've never really been taught how to see. It's an amazing kind of thing. So we'll be filled with talks about seeing the world through other people's eyes and learning a lot in terms of what's trending, what's not, social justice. And one of the most amazing, amazing, amazing women I've ever met. She came last year and she's often to come back. She's 92 years old. Her name is Dr. Eager. She is a psychologist, a global authority in PTSD, and a Holocaust survivor. She has a way of putting life in perspective that none of us could really do. I'm so grateful. We all are. Anyone who's seen her is like, oh my God, she's coming back. We've also taken our Generation Wow club work online and invited our Wow girls from Duval and St. Johns County to join us at the end of the school year, this past school year, for sessions on the positive and possible, an hour for a week. And we also recently completed a successful summer Wow pilot in Charlotte, North Carolina. Excitedly, and Christina's on this call, we are working on a national show for teen girls to be distributed. Fingers crossed that will all happen. What an impact that can have. So I leave you today and ask you again for your why not? Think about it. What motivates you? What excites you? And what are you going to have the courage to ask? I'm hoping it could be, why not me? Why not she? And of course, why not us? Of course. Why not? Right? And so with that, I'm hoping you will have as many questions. I'm happy to answer as many questions as you have today in the time that we have allotted, because I am really so grateful for the time we got to spend together.
Yeah, if you have questions, if you can put them in the Q&A box, and I'll kick us off with one to get started. It's super interesting, especially in St. Johns County. My husband and I were driving, and we were talking about county commissioners, and I was like, there's no women. And I said, what? I'm going to run. And he looked at me and I said, well, why not? I said, why not? So what advice do you have, especially in St. Johns County, for women to step up in those leadership roles, and that, maybe that facade of intimidation of the, and not to get political, but the men that have kind of, known to run the county, how can women step up?
Well, how can women step up? Well, first of all, we operate a little differently, right? We like invitations. And if that's the case, and instead of saying that's wrong, you shouldn't need to be invited, understand that and help to find women that you want to invite. You invited me here today. I said yes. Would I have called you up and said I have to be here? No, I wouldn't have, right? So I think that, and then put a support system behind. Put a support, create a team. It's exactly what I said. You create a team. Interestingly enough, right before, again, my phone was busy, right before Donna Deegan called me. Donna Deegan's running for Congress. And we talked about a couple of issues. And what's interesting is she actually said, hey, I'm just like you. Why not run? I can make a difference. It starts with that first question is, why not me? Why not me? And instilling that belief system in ourselves. When we don't have it, we want the invitation. That's okay too. Then create a why not us. And you have a team that's working with you, which ultimately you'll need in politics anyway. But unfortunately, as Warren Buffett said, when you want to create change and change denotes those in power changing, they're not going to be the first to raise their hands to help you. So we have to openly recognize that and organize accordingly.
All right, what other questions do we have? We put the link to the event in the box, the website. We do have several great female office holders. That is true. I did not mean to say that we do not have any. Nancy, I see a future program coming together, that's for sure, with these wonderful women. Refresh every Wednesday. Thanks for that. Any other questions?
Wow, usually people have questions. Oh yeah, listen, all right, I'll just say, Phil, help me out here. It is my Philip Lee, the Philip Lee I love and adore. How nice.
That is.
That's really nice. Dylan said he may have seen me play at the Garden. Dylan, I don't know where you are, but I hope you did. It was pretty spectacular. I will say that this past year I had one of the real thrills of my life. My son, I have twin boys, and my son, one of them played at Cal, played Division I at Cal, and this past year they played Duke at Madison Square Garden. And I'd have to say we're probably one of the very, very few mother-son teams, right, players who played at Madison Square Garden. And so it's really funny because he actually got to score. He was at the free throw line. I keep that picture right here on my phone as at the line, just remembering that really great moment. I'm so proud of him.
Donna,
Yeah.
First of all, I saw your surf event at the ranch on TV. It was awesome. It was really cool. We were glued to our TV when we saw it. It was just really interesting. But the question I have is, I'm a PTO president for Fruit Cove Middle School. A lot of teen girls there, and I've never heard of this program. Is there a way to explore it for Fruit Cove Middle School?
Oh, absolutely. We actually do. We have several middle schools in Duval County, but absolutely, the girls love it, and we would be happy to talk to you about it. Interestingly enough, the last talk I gave in person, which was the day before the world shut down, was to the St. Johns County Secretariat Leadership Group. Right? Talk about women in leadership, right? They definitely are. They are, right? They control ingress and egress to our schools, and they were asking a lot about our program, but we would be happy to. Christina, I think, is on the phone. Sherry is, and we'll be happy to get in touch with you.
Awesome.
It's a wonderful program, honestly.
Diane, we can connect too. I'm not sure if you know Kelly Barrera, but she's very involved in St. Johns County with the school board.
Yes.
So she's a great resource to help move some stuff along too in that regard.
Yes. Awesome. Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you. Anybody else?
You guys, don't be shy.
Okay, so now what's interesting to me is just like in this format, how to, like, usually I can see your faces, and then so when I'm talking to, like, I'm in a room, I'll say, well, you know what, Pat, I saw you nod on this. What do you think about that? Did you have a question? And Pat will look at me and say, yeah, but by the way, I was thinking about this. But this is a little bit more challenging, right? Right, Marty? This is harder. Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
Hey, Donna, it's Lori. I don't know if you can see me and hear me.
Hi, Lori.
Hi. I'm so sorry that I missed your presentation. I for some reason I was thinking it was noon, so I just got on. So.
Oh, Lori, it was the best presentation you ever.
I'm sure it was.
But they recorded it, so if you have a time you want to kill, they can play it for you.
That's what I'll do. Yes. But
Sarah's question is about having children involved in foster care. Can they get involved? Absolutely. We are really trying to figure out right now. I don't know how settled St. Johns County schools are. We know Duval County schools have a plan. We work with Orlando County schools. It's crazy in terms of who's going to be where. We do have this great now online virtual program with Real Impact. I think, Christina, that's going to be our new thing, virtual with Real Impact. And so if we can put together a group of kids and then connect them to a program, we're happy to take all girls. All girls. Yeah, absolutely. And it is about all girls.
A question, Donna, with everything about whether the kids, since we're on the kids subject, about kids going back to school and not going back to school, in your groups, as you're talking with these, younger women, what is their take on it, and how do you think it's affecting them being out of school for so long and not having that social interaction?
So what we're hearing and seeing is the girls, they're missing their friends terribly. They feel isolated and lonely, which is our biggest concern, which is why we're trying to create spaces for them to come together. Some of them find online school more challenging than others. Some of it's also contingent on the quality or the preparedness of the teacher in this format, right? Like I said to you today, I'm learning about this format, speaking to you right now. How would I change it? What would I do differently? Those kinds of things. And so that's what we're hearing from them. We have gotten unqualified positivity gatherings because we do polling and testing all the time so we can understand what's working with them and what's not. And the idea that we give them the opportunity to connect with other girls. So I guess one of the best validations, we got a note from a mom, our ultimate arbiters, and said, my daughter was not so sure about this, but ultimately she learned a lot. I think she has more confidence and she made new friends, which she never thought she would. So that's what we're kind of seeing right now.
Yeah. Awesome.
And it's also why we stepped in as quickly as we did.
Well, thank you for doing that.
Yeah, it's very, very good. I thought you were asking about young women who are moms. I'm seeing them too. And listen, there's nothing more important to them than safety and the wellness of their kids. And I've had one young mom say to me, listen, I am zero risk tolerant. My kids are staying home, period, the end. And then I've seen every gradation in between. Not to mention, you know what I mean? And my kids are not of that age. And it's really interesting as I'm encouraging you to ask tough questions. I keep asking myself, if my kids were going to school, what would I do? And I found myself not answering.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have to. Right now, I don't have to. It's such a hard question.
Yeah. Dylan, I have a question.
Hi.
Hello, Dylan.
Hey, everyone. So I have a young daughter. She's just about to turn, and I come from an athletic background, and so does my husband. And we have a son who's 4, and he loves sports. And our daughter doesn't seem to be as inclined as our son. And I find that I struggle with the balance between pushing her to try to enjoy or maybe find what sport it is that might be for her, and letting her maybe choose to not be the sporty type, but I believe in athletics and what it does for the soul and for a person. And so it's not that I want her to be sporty. It's that I think it's a good outlet for kids. And I struggle to find the balance of, how pushy to be and how avenue to take to encourage her to enjoy sports.
How old is she?
She's 6.
Oh, she's all right. So she's very little. So yeah. I listen, I agree with you. And I'm glad you qualified the fact she doesn't have to be sporty. You want her to be active.
Right. Yes.
So if we reframe her to active, there is a sport or a group that she can do where she is active, that she can glom onto, then the rest of it can grow or not. But the idea of being active in a context of with others is a skill set that serves us our entire lives, as you know.
Right.
But she's still a little young. I mean, there are girls that will gravitate for sure. But for the ones that aren't, for whatever reason, I usually, when I talk to my friends and whatever, say, just keep trying to find something, because sometimes it's a girlfriend. If she finds a cute girl or a cute boy that she connects with, and they're on the soccer field picking daisies and running up and down at 6, I'm kind of good with that.
Okay. I like that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Dylan was a phenomenal volleyball player at Flagler College.
Ah, great.
Why did Flagler? Not me.
Wait, what? No?
No, I went to UF.
Oh, well.
But I play now. That's might be what you were thinking.
Okay, maybe that is what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hey, Bill.
One more question, Donna. I just wanted to ask you, what do you think, what's the difference between how men and women are dealing with COVID-19? Like, what do you think the difference of how we're all dealing with it?
You know, it's really interesting. I have never been asked that, nor have any of my conversations which daily deal with differences between men and women have focused it on how they deal with COVID, which is interesting.
Well, I was just reading, I was reading it, and it said why women are better at dealing with COVID than men. So I'm
Well,
wondering
I'll tell you what is interesting, what has been part of the global dialogue is the countries that are run by women have had much greater success with dealing with tamping down the virus. So you can look in New Zealand, Taiwan, Finland, I think, Denmark. I don't know. I actually looked up all these countries the other day because we were having that conversation. Obviously, Angela Merkel, who happens to be a scientist, who knew how she has handled Germany, has been really striking in how they have been able to handle. So that is where I have heard that discussion, right? But I think everybody is so taken by the political divide in terms of how it's being handled that the male-female thing is like kind of got lost.
Yeah.
And so, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sorry, that was kind of off topic, but
No, that's okay.
I had read that earlier and I thought it was interesting. So, but I want to thank you so much, Donna. I just have to share with you, before I got on the call, I was about to submit a bid for a federal contract, $1 million contract, and I looked at all the other people bidding, and it was all men, and it was these huge companies, and I got very intimidated. I'd spent all week preparing this bid. I don't know if anybody has done a federal contract, but it is very time consuming and it is no fun. And I wasn't going to send it. I didn't send it. And you just asked the why not, and why not me?
Why not you?
Because I will be the only girl submitting a bid. So I'm going to do it as soon as we get done with the call. So I want to really thank
So when you get that bid, you make sure you call all of us. So we can help you.
And hopefully I do, but even if I didn't, I will still feel so much more empowered going forward, because I'm new to this in the government, contracting and submitting bids. I'll ask myself that every time, because it is very intimidating. And so I thank you, because I prepared all week for it and wasn't going to send it, but I'm going to send it now just because of this conversation. So
I think, and that actually there's success. And let me just say this: if you don't get it, make sure you do it again, because the research shows is that when women are denied something, we don't go back, right? You gotta go back. You guys are going back. And guess what? If you don't go back, you don't get it. You don't get to do it. And yes, just know I'm on the board of the KHA in the city of Duval County, which is our city agency for kids. And the procurement and the government applications, they're not user friendly.
no.
For a variety of reasons, right? So good for you that you completed it, and good luck. And listen, we're all rooting for you.
Thank you guys.
Girl power.
Yes.
Lori's putting up her golf. There's Lori.
And please, everyone, do look in the chat box. Christina put, Christina, do you want to just kind of tell us, I know it's in the chat box, do you just want to kind of go over how we can register and get signed up for that?
Yes, and by the way, Marty and Sean and whoever else and Phil, like, you're all invited. Like, this is we're very inclusive. Very inclusive.
Yeah, what we say is the program is designed through a women's lens. It's not exclusive of men. But yeah, you can go to our website, which is jenw.com. Let me just make sure of that. I should know that, but now that I'm saying it, yeah, it's jenwnow.com. And right on the homepage is a banner that'll click you through to the event page where you can read about our speakers. Dr. Richard Vlachek, who'll be joining us to speak about race in America. Dr. Eaker, the incredible Holocaust survivor that Donna mentioned earlier. And you can read some of the other speakers. And the great thing that Donna and I are excited about this year is that because of this virtual setting, one of the positivities is that we can provide all of this content to anyone that buys a ticket for a month following the event. So not only can you go back and rewatch all your favorite sessions, but we will also have a selection of workshops that you can go back and go through. So yeah, you go to jenwnow.com, and right there's a banner, and it'll take you to the page where you can read more, and then you'll click through to Eventbrite to buy tickets.
Great. And we said
And
why
all
not
the
do
tickets.
that?
Yeah, and I will say all the tickets, we are a nonprofit, like Donna said. So the proceeds that we make from this annual event is what funds our year-round work and the work that Donna was mentioning.
Yeah, all of our mentorship, leadership work for girls and women in building community.
Yep.
So
And
we
then
love-
refresh, all you have to do is follow us on our Facebook, which is Generation W. And every Wednesday we stream Refresh free live on Facebook Live.
Matter of fact, we just mentioned this coming week, we have, Phil, you might not know this. We have 2 incredible HR professionals. We have the Chief People Officer from GuideWell Florida Blue, Amy Ruth, joined by David Emanuel, the former head of HR for both CIT and APR Energy. He is now a national HR people consultant. They are amazing people. So this year we're going to talk about living at work and working at home. How do you make it happen? Because that's what we're doing, right?
Yes. Awesome.
Amy Ruth is my boss at Florida Blue, which is my other day job in addition to
okay.
So I can attest that Amy is awesome. If you guys ever have an opportunity to see her speak or just have a conversation with her, she's great. She's a huge contributing factor to why Florida Blue has such a great just corporate culture, and the work-life balance there is unlike any other company that I've ever worked at. So that's really exciting to hear.
That's awesome. So there you go. So we're going to leave you with a little upbeat video if we can. We're all about the positive and the possible. Andrea, if you wouldn't mind, that would be really great.